We live
Now
now.
we're live. Now, of course, right before I say something I don't want live, we get ready to go live. Hey, welcome to welcome to the TD report. Uh, we're just the D report today because we don't have the T yet. Tony's down in Blacksburg. We're waiting on him to get started. Over here, that's going. Oops, sorry. Going that way. We got Jody Coleman in the middle, our Midwest guy, and we've got Deb POV Mason, POV Sports.
What's
Deb,
up?
who you got
What's
this? Who
that?
you got on Friday? Who do you got Friday? Who you guys playing?
Uh, Give me a second. Laurel. My fault, Laurel.
Okay.
I'm
And
tripping. My fault.
oh, that's
I
all
had
right.
to.
Yeah. Listen,
You caught me. I was trying to
I
think, and
caught
I
you in a
was
bad.
like,
I caught you.
no, because everybody has a bye week, and I was trying to make sure I didn't think it
Mhm,
wasn't a bye week. That's all.
mhm.
That's
Well,
it.
well, since we've got Jody on here, and what I wanted to mention that to you, Devin, I want to bring up some high school stuff kind of towards the end. I want to talk about that Gaithersburg game out here in
the,
Montgomery County.
the
They got,
melee.
yeah, it
The
it
melee.
was a mess. So
Yeah.
I want to talk about kind of some of the things that happened, not necessarily what happened on the field, but what the administration did and what you felt about what the results were of that. And Jody, definitely stick around for that because I know you like high school
Oh
sports
yeah,
as well.
definitely, definitely.
As we roll on here on the TD report, we're going to talk a little pro football right now. We've got Thursday night football about to kick off. We've got our Midwest reporter in here, and we want to talk about. Let's talk about the Browns and the Steelers. Let's talk about the Browns from last week. Let's talk about from Sunday. What happened?
Actually, and I'm not going to be that guy to say, oh, they lost in Browns fashion. It was a Browns fashion type of loss because I've been around for a lot of them, but it was a lot of intricate parts. But one thing we're not going to say is it was Nick Chubb's fault. It was not Nick Chubb's fault. He shouldn't have fell down. Who would have known by scoring a touchdown with under 2 minutes to go, and the team having no timeouts that your defense couldn't hold water? They gave up a 66-yard touchdown play. And Dad, you're a high school coach. You would have probably ran too deep, safeties high. You'd have probably kept everything in front of you, make them dip and dunk the whole way down the field.
Mm-hmm.
I know I was screaming about Joe Woods being fired, and I'm still saying the same thing because you got to run what your coach tell you to run. I'm not
Right.
taking any onus off of the players, but once again, that was last week, and that's the NFL. It wasn't just Cleveland that debacle, the Ravens debacle. It was the Vegas Raiders debacle, the Ravens. It was a lot of debacling of last week. But what the
We're going to
Cleveland
need to
Browns,
coin that phrase.
right?
Hey, I don't mean to cut y'all off, but they entering the Sandman at Tony Stadium. That's the best interest in college football, man.
Yeah, Tony. I
There
don't
is
think
nothing like that thing, man. I've been in there on a Saturday night when they played Florida State some years ago, and you could feel the place moving. It was unbelievable, man.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable.
let me
I'm
tell you.
representing. I'm representing a little bit. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I gave Tony a
Representing a
little
little
love
bit.
down here. I have the tech VPI cheer down here at the bottom. As a UVA guy, it makes me just makes me disgusted to even put it on there, but it's all good. Friend of mine's got a nephew down there playing football for the Hokies this year, so we could show them a little love. You're right, Devin. It's one of the best entrances in all of college football, if not the best.
Crazy,
Um,
man.
it's loud. I mean, it's raucous.
It's raucous, man. It is raucous.
Yeah. And I mean, this whole idea of what happened to a lot of college kids with COVID, where a lot of these stadiums were either emptied out or you couldn't go to games or it wasn't the same atmosphere. And now it kind of feels like we're kind of starting to get that back. So, to see the normal traditions happen and, seeing the Marching 100 on the field for Florida A&M, and you just kind of feel like things are getting back to normal. I know there's still pandemic going on, right? They still have to take precautions, but at least it's getting back to a semi-semblance of normal. We have the high school sports going now too, high school football, but a lot of these kids missed out on a lot of socialization. Kids like my son, who is a senior this year, but for his first 2 years of high school, there were no school dances allowed.
Wow.
None. So
No
Wow.
imagine
prom, no
you
nothing.
you're in eighth grade and you want to meet girls in high school, and that first 2 years, there ain't no school dance. There's no homecoming dance. There's no sock hop. I mean, call it what you want. Just last year, his junior year, he got to go to prom. That was really his first school dance that he ever got to go to.
Mm.
And the parents basically made sure that happened. So, yeah, that's a great segue, Devin. let's talk about this Thursday night game that we've got. Not the college game. We'll talk about the college game in a second, because hopefully we're going to get Tony to come on. Guys, we wanted to bring Tony to you tonight. Everyone that's listening, it would have been too loud. Literally, he would have. No, I'm serious. We don't have the sound capabilities to.
No, you wouldn't have heard nothing he said in that place. It's insane in that place right now.
Yeah, it's insane. We would have had
running
Tony
to the thing, jumping through the end zone and stuff. You wouldn't have heard nothing in there tonight. It is crazy in that place.
And Tony's on the sideline. Tony's on the sideline, and and then you have the ROTC, the cadet corps back there, and they've got their cannon going. Come on, man, forget it. You can't hear yourself think.
It's definitely in that place, man. You can't hear nothing.
Oh yeah,
you couldn't hear yourself think if you was in there right now.
And honestly, it might be quieter during the game than it is before. True. In that opening. Now, get on those big downs. It gets very loud in Blacksburg. But my enduring memory of Blacksburg is seeing it when it's like a late November game, and you might get a little freezing rain, maybe some sleet, a little blowing snow going through there, and that loud stadium. That's a fun place to play.
It's a great place to play.
Yeah. Have you ever had any kids go there, Devin?
No, I just went down with some players to visit, and I've been to a few games on my own. I went to see them play Florida State. I seen him play UVA once, and I seen him play Temple one time. I've been down there 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
3 times. Yeah.
It's a great place to go to school, man. I mean,
great place.
I didn't go to school there, but I've been to a few parties up there. Down there, it was pretty nice. I had a good time down there, man. Guys took care of me down there.
Yeah, I had a couple buddies that got into Radford, so Radford's down the road. So go visit them. We ride by there, but I've been to 3 games there and visited with two former players who they were recruiting on visits. Went down to visit with them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the pro game. Who do you have tonight, Jody? What do you think's going to happen?
Honestly, I think I'm just because I got the Cleveland shirt on. That's not the reason, but I'm going with Cleveland for the simple fact that when T.J. Watt is not in the lineup, week 1 they had 7 sacks. Week 2 they had 0 sacks. In week 2 they had 0 sacks. And what T.J. Watt means to the Pittsburgh defense is monumental. The way that he's able to create double teams, and the kid Alex Highsmith, who I'm really high on, that outside linebacker, is a guy that was getting free. He had 3 sacks in week 1. And not only that, T.J. Watt is the only player since 1982 to have 70 sacks and 5+ interceptions in his first 5 years.
It's amazing.
It's the only player that has done that since 1982. So I think Cleveland should be able to run the ball. Now they can double up Cam Hayward and just make it where we're not going down the field, let Mika Fitzpatrick make plays in that secondary, so we can stay away from throwing the ball down the field. We keep it tight. I think Cleveland has the edge because defensively, I think Cleveland should be able to stop the run. Najee Harris averages under about 3 yards a carry.
3 yards a carry.
And Mitchell Trubisky will be benched within. If he doesn't win this game, he doesn't show well. Don't be surprised with this 10 days off that the Pittsburgh Steelers make a quarterback change.
Devin, is there any chance for Pittsburgh to run the football tonight? Because they have to run the football tonight.
Couldn't run it against the Bengals, who are not as good defensively. Couldn't run it against the Patriots, who are not as good defensively up front. Cleveland has shown a little weakness in the back end. The Jets exposed a little bit of that Sunday with some of the things they got. But I don't think Trubisky can make the throws that Flacco made. And I say that kind of funny, but Flacco still can throw it when he gets time. He still can fit the ball in there. I've never seen Trubisky be that accurate. Trubisky's more of a mobile guy that buys time and throws off schedule. When he's got to stand in there and actually beat you from the pocket, I'm not worried about that. My biggest fear for the Steelers is trying to stop the two-headed monster at running back. I just don't know how you stop that because unless they take the ball out of those guys' hands, they shouldn't lose this game. They should win this game if they're at home. And another thing that Cleveland needs to win, because you don't want Pittsburgh to have 2 road wins in the division and have the rest have 3 home games left. Only have to go to Baltimore after tonight for the road in their division. So if they get this, they've already won at Cincinnati. So you got to look at it. If they get this, this is like 4 wins. 2 wins is like 4. Getting the road
at this stage, yes.
Yeah, in a division that's tough. So that's another reason why Cleveland needs to hold serve. You don't need to lose a home game. You can't lose 2 home games in a row in 4 days. Can't do that. Not in the NFL. If you are a championship contender, you don't lose 2 games at home in a row in 4 days. You just don't do that. So go ahead.
What do you think about the scheduling here? Because we see what Goodell has kind of set up. He set up that opening week, right? And then weeks 2 through 4, he's going to work in 1 or 2 division games for pretty much every team. We're seeing the divisional matchups, the early divisional matchups. Then you're going to see the rest of the schedule, and then the last 4 weeks of the season, you're going to see division on division to close the season out. These 2 early games, like you said, sets the tone.
I don't mean to cut you off. The kid Prather from West Virginia played at Northwest, one of the schools that got into a fight, and I coached that kid in a bowl game. The wide receiver for West Virginia, he's a freak. Cam Prather from Northwest High School up in Germantown.
Up in G-Town, yeah.
Yeah, he's up there right now. He just caught a pass about 8 yards. He can flat play, man. Kid can go.
I'll have to remember that.
He was coached by Chris Samuels. That was their offensive coordinator from the Redskins.
Right. Yeah. Is that where he ended up? I didn't realize that's where he was coaching.
Offensive coaching, offensive line and OC.
Oh, that's great. Great for Chris.
The head coach stepped down, but he was roommates with the Wise head coach at Wake Forest. They were both roommates. Neubizer and DeLon Parrish from Wise, they were roommates at Wake Forest.
Okay. Well, that explains a lot about Wise, doesn't it?
And that explains a lot about why Northwest and Wise met so much in the playoffs for the right to win state championships besides Chris Orchard. And them were the 2 teams, button heads every time, them 3.
Oh, yeah.
Always had this, came out of them 3 every year. But
honestly, if you've ever seen Northwest campus, if you've seen Wise's campus, those schools, the way that they've built them and set them up, I mean.
Chris Orchard is older and it still looks great.
QO looks great. Yeah, QO looks great.
It's unbelievable.
I go to the Dunkin' Donuts up there. Let's shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk a little high school football here on the TD Report. Had a recent high school game up here in my part of the county. I live down the street from Gaithersburg, and it's almost a stone's throw from here, just across 355. Gaithersburg and Northwest, I didn't realize they were big rivals, but they played, and there was a fight on the field, okay? And a coach was involved, and a coach supposedly threw a punch, but 4 players were suspended, and then the coach was involved. Now the Montgomery County Police are getting involved in this, and now Montgomery County Public Schools, that administers the sports in the county, has suspended the season for both schools. So Gaithersburg, and this was like game 3 of the season.
Game 2.
Gaithersburg and Northwest, their seasons are suspended right now.
It was week 3, my bad. It was week 3.
Week 3.
Week 3.
Yeah.
Week 3.
I thought it was week 2 or week 3. So week 3, now Northwest is suspended. Okay. Unless there's appeals to be made and so on and so forth. And seeing as how it was 4 guys that were involved here, you can throw them off the team. You can suspend them, but you're going to cut off 2 high schools from their high school sport for the year off of that brawl. I don't think anybody was injured.
No, they weren't.
I don't think anybody was injured. I don't think no cars were turned over. It wasn't wanton destruction or property damage. I don't understand the decision here.
I didn't even see any fans come out of the stands. I saw just.
I was amazed. I
saw everybody stay where they're supposed to be. It was just the 2 teams. That's it. So I don't know what that's about. That's weird, man.
But you know what, Dave? I'm not from that area, but just listening to the story, I hate that high school kids' careers, because some of these are seniors, and their careers are cut short over an adult making a bad decision. Adults should not be able to dictate what the kids do on the field because they made a poor decision by throwing a punch or even interacting. Because it's all. And I understand we all played at the highest level, we coached at the highest level. I understand that, the emotions get high, but us as the adults, we have to set that tone. And we have to let our kids understand that this is a football game. There's other stuff to be done after this. So I personally, we had fights up our way where they made it where crowds couldn't come in the game because it was fights on the court. I never understood that when I was coaching. And we appealed it. All the coaches went and appealed to the school board, and they changed it. They overturned it, but they missed the whole game where it was these kids are playing with no fans in the stands. So I don't think that's the answer. I think sometimes you just do something. You're like, oh, I'm just going to do this because that just seemed like the right thing to do, and instead of actually finding out the root cause of these problems.
In this era of cameras, in this era of surveillance, you can pretty much, even at a high school football game, the level of how sharp the cameras are, you can pretty much pick out who is doing what.
Yeah,
You know, most of the time. If you're going to tell me that 4 kids, 2 from one side, 2 from the other, and then one coach had thrown punches or did something untowards, okay, we can identify who those people are, figure out who did what, and mete out a punishment. I'm not a big fan of blanket punishments for high school programs for things like this. A shoving match during a football game, or even a shoving match down the street at the McDonald's, where the two teams maybe bump into each other in the parking lot. It's a high school thing. This is not something that should be adjudicated in a court. If this happened inside the school, maybe somebody gets suspended. But people aren't getting arrested for this. Mm-hmm. I just don't think it's right. I've seen things. My son doesn't play football; he plays baseball. But I've seen things in baseball where an athletic director has emailed a parent, "Hey, listen, something happened at that game last week. We need to talk about this." Right? And it's just that one situation. It's not some AD coming in and saying, "Okay, we're going to suspend the whole season for this team. These other 15 kids, you guys can't play." One parent was a problem, or one kid was a problem. As an athletic director, an athletic administrator, you deal with the one problem. Now, if you see a pattern, same group of kids, same team, same situation. Every time they get on the field, they want to fight. Every time they get on the field, they want to argue with refs or whatever. If you start to see that become a problem, then yes, as an athletic director, you do something about it. You sit the team down with their parents. Hey, listen, everybody has to be at this meeting, all 50 kids, all 60 kids on my varsity. And you must bring a parent or guardian. That's your ticket to get into this room. You get them all in a room. Hey, guys, this is what's going to happen. We're going to go to this game. We're not going to act like assholes. Okay? On the field or off the field. It's a zero tolerance. And now that everybody understands what the standard is, then everyone's going to have to fit to that. So I don't think that Northwest and Gaithersburg were given that opportunity in this situation. I'd like to see a little more leniency be given by Montgomery County Public Schools on this. Suspend the kids that were wrong. Let the other kids play. And like you said, Devin, if Northwest were considered ineligible for the playoffs, that's a walkover, isn't it?
Well, that helps. That helps.
That helps a couple teams up in the county, right?
That helps Chris Orchard, because that's the biggest problem they have up that way, and it helps Wise and it helps Flowers down this way, because those are the 4 best teams in the state in 4A, and then you got Broadneck and Anne Arundel County, and maybe Howard. Howard has a good team every couple of years where they compete. Old Mill, Arundel, all them teams like that. But Wild Lake is 3A though. So
they're 3A. They're down in 3A. Yeah, so you're talking about like now. Damascus and Damascus is even 3A. They're even 3A. Seneca Valley's 3A.
3A too. Yep. All of them went down to 3A. The 4A schools are your Sherwoods, your Northwest, your Quince Orchards, those schools. And then down here you got the Roosevelts, the Bowies, the Wise, the Suitlands, the Flowers. And Anne Arundel, you got Broadneck, Old Mill, Arundel, all them teams. But Northwest is usually the second or third best team after Wise and Quince Orchard. So having them out of it makes that trip that someone don't have to take that trip to Germantown in the dead of November, which is cold and wintry and tough to win at. You're talking about a college offense and defensive schemes that you have to beat. To beat them. They're not running typical high school stuff. They're not.
Yeah, it's not going to be the split veer. They're not running the split veer at you.
They're running 4 and 5 wide. Those wide receivers are 6'2" and 6'3".
Yeah, some good kids out there.
They're running 185, 90-pound backs with 4.4 speed, and they got 2 tackles. Usually, they all have tackles that go 6'3", 6'4", or bigger, 260, 270 on both lines.
Yep.
And then they got a center that literally calls all the blocking schemes and don't make many mistakes. He's always really a smart guy. It's just you watch them teams, that's why they're so complete. They're well coached.
Yeah, they're well coached. What's amazing to me is in this era of specialization, when you see these bigger 4A schools or the bigger 3A schools, and you see their wide receivers, you see their backs, I'm telling you, most of those guys are also on the track team. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you'll see a couple of kids. I remember when we played my high school, when we played, I think we played Seneca Valley one year. All the guys on our track team were like, yeah, that's their, you know, a couple of guys on the sideline. It's like, yeah, that's their 100-meter guy over there. And there's a 200 runner, and their wide receiver ran the quarter mile. So they didn't have bums out there. They had athletes. They had guys that could do a couple of things. And I definitely I wanted to see Northwest play this year. And I didn't get a chance, and I'm hoping I do get to. But anytime you're up here in the county, Dev, we can go over and check out Gaithersburg anytime. They're right up the street.
Well, when the playoffs come, and we're not playing, we'll get together and go check them out.
Yeah, come and check it out. Yeah. Well, I just like to see high school football. You know, I like the whole, where my apartment is right on East Diamond, and East Diamond runs up to 355.
Oh, you're right there.
I'm right there.
355 is Pooks Hill Road.
355 is Frederick Road.
Frederick Road.
Rockville Pike, Frederick Road, yeah.
And Pooks Hill is up in Bethesda where the promenade is and the big fancy rich people. I used to work at the promenade for a few years.
It's a little further. That's a little further south towards Bethesda.
Well, I don't have great memories of Montgomery County in football, man. Last time we went through there for a state semifinal game at Damascus, and let's just say they handed our asses to us. You know, it was 21-0 for a week of blink. They hung 63 on us.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's when they were like, we had Fleet Davis and all them guys, and they still beat us that bad.
You know, the neighborhood that I live in, on both sides of the street, it's just Gaithersburg kids. So tomorrow morning when I get ready to go and drop my son off at school, all the football players are going to be wearing their jersey. JV, varsity, freshmen. The cheerleaders, the pom squad, they're going to be walking their way up to school. And it's just that atmosphere, that high school atmosphere. And I mean, it's literally, we call this street that I live on, we call it the Trojan Walk, because all the kids that don't ride the bus or drive to school walk this way right up to 355, and they go right across the street, and that's where Gaithersburg High School is. And
Quince Orchard is in Gaithersburg too, isn't it?
Quince Orchard is over on the west side of 270. So we're on Gaithersburg is on the east side of 270. And on the west side of 270 is like Quince Orchard. That's more Potomac.
Gotcha.
Quince Orchard, gorgeous. You know, my godson plays football for them. I think he's a freshman, so he's on either JV or freshman. But
David Kelly's a good friend of mine, the head coach out there. He can flat do it. That man can do it. You hear me? He can do it.
Duo has a good program. They've got a good high school program. You know,
they do.
And like I said, they got a nice, for these single fellas out there. Let me just say, the Dunkin' Donuts across the street from Quince Orchard, it's a great place to meet a yoga mom. You know what I'm saying? My man. Jody, when you're up here, man, we'll take you over there, man. We'll turn you loose on some of these Montgomery County ladies, man.
Hey, listen, you know,
we'll show you what a real cougar looks like.
I'll be there before y'all know it when the Commanders playing the Browns. So I'll be there at New Year's Day. I'll be there before New Year's Day. So I'll be there probably 2 days prior to that. So.
Yeah, I'll be in town. So let's talk about those Commanders. Interesting of note, after the loss to the Detroit Lions, I thought something kind of cheesy kind of happened. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a good game against the Commanders, and he had a few words for the Commanders as far as for Dyami Brown, which I didn't think was fair. Dyami Brown, third-round pick for the Commanders last couple of years ago in the draft. Amon-Ra was picked in the 4th round. And I know what Amon-Ra was saying here. He was talking about where he was drafted compared to Dyami Brown, and how Dyami Brown didn't get many snaps against the Lions. I thought it was a cheap shot. You know, you got to work hard to make it in this league, okay? And every guy has his own way to motivate himself, right? Michael Jordan always motivated himself. Hey, man, I didn't make varsity as a sophomore. That's what motivated him. It's legendary.
And let me use the name of the guy that beat me out.
I don't like
everywhere I go.
It's not.
I'm gonna use his.
I know, right?
Name everywhere I go.
I mean, if it's up here, it's up here and in here. Hey, man, if that's what drives you, hey, that's great. But if I spent my whole life, every slight that somebody gave me, or I'll give you one. If I had to say what motivates me is when somebody called me short, and I didn't like that. Well, damn. That's like 1,000 people that have called me too short to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to kill you, by the way. That type of stress, that'll kill your heart. But I thought what Amon-Ra did there was kind of cheesy. And I thought after such a great game like that, maybe you mention it a little bit and just talk about, hey man, I'm just trying to get better every week, right?
But you know what? I don't particularly like it either because it's a long season, and when you are a fourth round, right? When you're a fourth round pick, and you don't take it one game at a time, you have to remain humble because somebody is gonna clean your clock because you don't know who Brown is cool with on another team. And they may take that personal, or you motivating that other guy that might have got picked before you to come and make sure that you don't outperform him, and you may have cost your team a game. So you have to remain humble in this league. And I think he's an up and coming. I think he's gonna be an up and coming star. He had 90 catches last year, right there. He had over 90
I like the guy. I like him.
He's starting to be a number one target. He's gonna be he's the number one target for Goff. You know, he's outshined. Have Williams played yet? He hasn't played yet, have he?
No, Williams hasn't played yet. No,
he hasn't played yet. But when is he set to come back?
Week round. They haven't really given a date. They said closer to week 8, more than likely. What they're looking at right now, depending on how his treatment continues and he continues to develop with the ability to cut like they want him to. I think Dan Campbell is like, we spend a first round pick. We're gonna take our time with this. We're not gonna rush him. But if he gets back with his home run ability and all those other weapons they got and that offensive line, they're not that bad in the NFC North. They're really not.
Let's talk about that. They had how many starters did they have out? Had 2 starters, 3 starters out?
3 on the offensive line. 3
on the offensive line.
Yeah.
And guys,
they controlled the line of scrimmage the whole day. They controlled.
I sent you guys the screen caps, right?
Yeah, it was bad.
Those were good holes, buddy.
It's bad.
Now, listen, Washington made some mistakes. There's a couple of plays where they overran the hole, okay, where they didn't fill gaps. Guys were in the wrong spot, okay? And we're talking, Devin, we're talking high school stuff. Hey, man, you are 2 gaps over in the wrong spot. You need to be in this gap. If you aren't here, that guy's still running. So what I did like about this week, what I liked about this week for the Washington Commanders was it's been real quiet, okay? Been real quiet out of Redskins camp. I like it, okay? I think what we're going to see on Sunday when the Eagles get in here is we're going to see a very focused team. They didn't look as focused in Detroit until the second half, until they got punched in the mouth and then they had to respond. I think they're going to have a good game. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be like a 30-24, 35-27 type of game. I think if Washington gets some turnovers and maybe a couple of plays in teams, they have a shot to win the game. But I don't think they're losing by 21. I just can't see that happen.
Let's go ahead and let's give Jalen Hurts his flowers for a moment.
Please.
Can we talk about him? I think Dad was high on him too, I believe, because he's one of your guys. He's an Alabama guy.
I'm high on all 3 of them guys. I told people
they all look good. I ain't gonna lie, they all look good right now.
I'm not really high on Mac Jones. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not really high on Mac Jones, and it's nothing against him and the program that he came from. I just think Mac Jones has become limited, and I think he's overrated to a certain extent. He's in a perfect system. I'm not, I'm kind of hard on quarterbacks, you know me, but I think
you don't think Devin is. You don't think he is?
Overrated in what way? Because you got to look at the fact that he came into a system with devoid of weapons on the outside, completely devoid of weapons.
That's why Tom left.
So you got to give him that first of all. He came into a system with with his offensive coordinator with 1 foot out the door. Josh McDaniels knew he was going to be a head coach soon.
Right.
And he still threw 22 touchdowns and took them to a 10-7 record. People can say, oh, he had the most touchdowns of any rookie last year. And an offense that didn't have a lot of weapons.
No,
that's not really saying. I mean, like I said, I'm just not big. I'm not big. You know me.
I don't think he's great, but I think considering where he a 3-star coming in Alabama and being where he is now, he's done great. And I think he's overachieved. So no matter what he does from here on out, being a first-round pick or not, it might have been a little bit of a leap to take him that early. Just like I think it was a huge leap for them to take Trey Lance at 3. That was a bigger leap than that because he played against nobody. Right. And he hasn't played now in 3 years once he comes back. It'll be 3 years since Trey Lance played a meaningful game and went through the whole game that matters.
But But we got to understand that Jalen Hurts is his completion percentage has went up, I think 6 or 7 points. He has the luxury of having AJ Brown. He has a home run guy in Watson. He got Smith, who is star. He didn't have any targets in week one.
Quez Watkins?
Yeah, Quez Watkins. Yeah. He's a deep threat, and we already know he's one of the best dual threats in the NFL because he can run the ball. He had 2 rushing touchdowns on Monday night, and he completely dismantled the Minnesota Vikings. Not to mention Philadelphia on defense. Can we start saying that Darius Slay is a top 5 corner in this game, and he proved it?
He's been a top 5 in my mind. He's been a top 5 corner for a couple of years now.
I think he's been top 3 at some point. I thought he was the best at one time because I thought. You took a look at what he had around him in Detroit, and he was still getting those numbers. To me, that showed me the Aeneas Williams that I saw. I saw Aeneas Williams all over again when I saw him because Aeneas Williams never had other guys completely to help him, and he still did his thing. That's the kind of stuff I was looking at. He never had that other guy or safeties that you could trust. This dude was doing the same thing. He come to Philly, now you got a Bradbury. And I'm gonna tell you another pickup that was gigantic is Hassan Reddick can rush the passer and he can play in the middle. He can get you both.
Yeah.
You know, so you got that. Then you got all these interchangeable D linemen, Josh Sweat. They even lost to Derek Barnett, and they still got a ton of dudes. You know what I'm saying?
They got. I didn't think Graham was gonna come back this season. When he tore his ACL, I thought he was done. I thought he was done.
They're loaded, but I'm gonna tell you the biggest reason why they're successful. They have a coach in Nick Sirianni that does what a lot of guys won't do. He married his system to his quarterback. After a year of trying to figure it out, he said, you know what? Off season, I'm going to marry this thing to what Hurts does best. Intermediate, quick stuff, give him multiple plays for every play. That way, when he comes out the huddle, he's got 3 plays he can pick from. And if you see him come to the line, he surveys. He goes under center, he surveys again. He gives a hand signal, they run the play. That's the sign of a dude that married his system to his quarterback.
Split him out, sprint him out, bootleg him, move him around. You don't
use
just
everything he has. Use everything he has.
Use everything he's got because I've always felt that what Philadelphia has been able to do in this division over the past 15 years, but besides the Giants, but they fell off, they've been the most consistent team.
Yeah, by far.
They've been the most consistent team. Forget the Super Bowl. Throw the Super Bowl out. But just if you look at the number of playoff wins over the last since 2000,
they went to 4 straight NFC championships. They went to 4 straight NFC championships under Andy Reid, 4 in a row.
Exactly.
And they lost 3 of them, but they were right there in 4.
They were right there.
They lost to the greatest show on turf in the last minute.
Yep.
They lost to the Panthers when the Panthers were playing out of their mind, and Tampa. And they beat the Falcons when the Falcons upset Green Bay to be the first team to win a road game at Lambeau in the playoffs.
Yep. They beat Mike Vick. Yeah, they beat Mike Vick. They beat Mike Vick the week after Mike Vick went to Lambeau and beat Brett Favre.
I'm gonna tell you why they beat Mike Vick that day. Brian Dawkins hit Algie Crumpler on the 3rd play of the game, and it took Algie Crumpler's heart. And he was the reason why his ability to control the middle of the field with that running game was a problem. Once he took Crumpler out of that game, Vick ain't had no options because the receivers weren't that great. They were solid. But
I think I can find that hit. I can find that hit for you.
So nasty.
And remember, Warren Dunn, he wasn't the same either. Warren Dunn he had his way in Green Bay, and when he played that game, he couldn't get anything going in that.
That was Philly's year, man. They were just tough. Philly was tough. They were tough. But the 3 times they didn't go, they lost to the best offense in the league and 2, the best defense in the league. And Carolina's defense was ranked 4th the year they beat them. Plus, they had the 2-headed monster at running back and Deshaun Foster and Stephen Davis, Musa Muhammad, Steve Smith, and Jake Delhomme with the bad breath throwing touchdowns.
Oh, listen.
Yeah.
Musa Muhammad, silent killer, man.
Tough as nails.
Silent killer. That guy
never got the credit he deserved. Never got the credit he deserved. Such a beast. He was a beast in Chicago.
Yeah, pretty good.
Great player. Great wide receiver, man.
Yeah, I like Musa Muhammad. Yeah, he was a monster. Yeah. Yep. I mean,
he had one of the best seasons. He was it 2007. He led the NFL in receiving yards.
Listen, it's to me, out of all these odd seasons or weird seasons that wide receivers have, nothing's ever going to touch what Josh Gordon did. That was incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Because of the quarterbacks that he had to have throwing to him. He was literally. Who did he have that year? He had
Brian Hoyer.
Jason Campbell.
And Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer. and
Oh,
Brandon
Wasn't
Whedon.
Brandon Whedon there? Yeah, Brandon
Brandon
Whedon was drafted
Whedon.
by there. Yeah, he was there.
Those three
Yeah.
guys were throwing passes, and I don't mean any disrespect to those guys. You could
I ain't
have
gonna lie. I thought Brandon Whedon was going to be a better pro. I did. I know he played at Oklahoma State, but scouting him, I saw a strong arm. I saw decision making. I saw size. Him and the kid that went to Auburn, I thought they would be better. Jared Stidham,
yeah.
that started
I
at
thought
Baylor.
Stidham would be better.
I
as a
thought they'd
pro.
be better because they looked like prototypical pro prospects. But when they got out of the college system, they just couldn't adjust. They
But you,
could not change their way of playing from the college system to the NFL style. They couldn't do it.
Jared Stidham is one of these guys that I would say this: the NFL game passed him by. If
Yeah, it
Jared
did.
Stidham had come into the league 15 years ago, I think he's, and you give him the same
He could
skill
be an every
set.
week starter. He probably could be an every week starter because he had everything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
like you
now,
said, yeah.
But now you can't be a Jared Stidham and come into the league, and that's the only facet that you have. You have to have something else, and he didn't
But see,
have.
Dave, people forget before Kyler Murray, Jared Stidham had all the records in Texas.
He did.
Everything. He owned
He was
everything.
incredible. No,
Before
know
Kyler
what?
Murray, he broke every record Drew Brees had and all that. People forget that
Yep.
that dude was unbelievable.
Mhm.
The thing with Brandon Whedon, I don't care what he would have did. Any quarterback that would have came to Cleveland in that era would have probably not been successful.
Mhm.
Cleveland was a cesspool for everything but running back, probably. Like it just wasn't a good place to be. You had people that was losing games on purpose, trying to tank for draft picks. And Brandon Whedon, especially with his advanced age, I think came in the league at 29 or something like that.
Mhm.
I didn't think they wanted to invest in him, and he didn't have a lot of time. And he's not gonna get a second opportunity at 30 and 31 years of age when you can go get you a 22-year-old quarterback. So
Mhm.
he just got dealt a bad hand by coming to Cleveland because it just nobody was gonna be successful at that time.
So let's talk about also what happened to the spread on this Washington-Philly game. I sent you over the numbers on that. The spread went from, was it 3.5 to 6.5 in 4 hours on Monday. Okay, so this is right after the Detroit game, right after Philly gets their game finished up, and the spread just exploded. Now I would imagine, I haven't looked at it recently, I would imagine a lot of money came back in on Washington and might have pushed that number back a little bit. But I think Tony said it was up almost around 7. Okay,
It is. It
that's
was
a
7,
lot
I
of
believe. I
guys.
think
That's a
it hit
lot
7.
of points. That's a lot of points.
It is.
I would take the over. I'll take the over on that all day. I'll take the over. 49.5. There's no way they're below 49. Okay. They might have 49 at half. The two teams. That's combined score.
I gotta ask Deb this real quick. How long does Carson Wentz have before he's not the starting quarterback with the Commanders?
Oh, come on. He's fine.
You think so?
He's fine. He's fine.
I don't think so.
No, he's good.
7 touchdowns,
He's good.
3 picks. I mean, the 3 picks. One Sunday was a tip ball that hit the receiver in the hand. It wasn't a great throw, but Logan Thomas is 6'7". You got to do better to catch that football.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 picks, bad play call on the screen pass where Trayvon Walker got the pick. The only
that
one
was a great play. That was a great play by Trayvon Walker.
But that's a bad play call on first down. You don't run a screen on first down. You don't have them looking for you. You have to set them up to run that.
Throw it in the ground.
You cannot run a screen on a defense that's that active that's not even bringing any pressure on first down. They're not even coming. So you have to set them up for that.
Right.
So 1 pick out of the 3 he's thrown was his fault.
But I'd agree.
The other one.
But
he's been pretty good. Huh?
You play against a team week 1, which was the number 1 pick in the draft. You play week 2 against a team that was number 2 pick in the draft. And you are 1-1. Those are games that on paper you're supposed to win. And when you bring
Carson, you can't put that all on Carson Wentz. They can't stop a nosebleed on
I get it, but guess who? Guess who gets blamed for everything? The coach and the quarterback.
Not Wentz right now. Wentz is fine right now. It's not Wentz. I'm not even a fan of his, but watching him play,
he's fine.
I can't do nothing. You can't do nothing about them going non-max pro from the 1 yard line and trying to do a 7-step drop. That's not your fault. It's not your fault.
I'll tell you this.
And then the edge rusher gets the edge and is on your back for you can even get to your 4th step. You can't get. There's nothing I can do for that.
Hey Jody.
So for me, I don't think Wentz is the problem. I think he could be better in some areas, but to a man, this is the first time he hasn't been in the same system in his whole career. He's also got a coordinator that seems like he's learning as he's learning. That's a problem. You know, so together they're learning how to call offense and get the guys involved. The biggest problem is, once again, the center's hurt. Roullier's hurt. Maybe for the year.
He out for the year, yeah.
Well, they had a second opinion.
No, he's not out for the year. He's out
for a
the
second opinion.
Oh, okay, getting a second. Okay.
Waiting for a second opinion. But again, first year in a new system. Preseason was nothing. You kind of just did enough so you might wouldn't get hurt. Curtis Samuel's still trying to figure out where he fits in the offense. He didn't play at all last year. You're breaking in Dotson as a rookie. Logan Thomas is just coming back. The offensive line is all new guys except for Leno and Cosme at tackle. Everything else in the inside is new. For that, you know, you played Detroit and Jacksonville, but this isn't the Detroit and Jacksonville that it picked first and second in those drafts either. They got more talent than that too.
I agree. I definitely agree. But if they start off 1-4, you can't tell me that they're not going to be itching to put that young guy in.
I mean, they may do it, but you paying Wentz $28 million, so I don't know. 5th round pick. He's not a first round pick.
Indianapolis is paying him that kind of money too.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, but Indianapolis right now would kill to have him back. Looking at Matt Ryan, sorry.
Oh my God! What happened? What happened to him?
Matt Ryan, it's the Drew Brees fault. It's arm fatigue. It's done. He has no arm. It's arm fatigue. He has no arm.
Basically, what Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, same situation. Yeah. That last year that you saw them, that was it. That's all they had left. That's
the coach. The coach got to stop taking these retreads and go draft the guy and let Frank Reich develop him. That's what he does.
Take your medicine.
Carson Wentz.
And take your medicine.
The reason why Carson Wentz was the MVP before he got hurt in 17. You can develop a quarterback. Go get your own. Stop sitting around getting these retreads, man. These dudes is done. Holding that whole team back.
Wentz still has an opportunity. He still has an opportunity to have a second part of his career. There's still enough left. Okay.
You really think Darius Leonard's gonna rush back hurt, knowing that team ain't going nowhere? Why risk getting hurt anymore when I know this team ain't going no damn way?
Hold on, not mess my money up. Hell no.
But let me stop you guys on that one. Go look at the AFC South and see who has a good team. The only team in that division has a victory is Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So it ain't. I mean, they can go. You got to think. Jacksonville's 1-1. The Texans 0-1-1. The Indianapolis Colts 0-1-1. And then you got the Titans, who looks tremendously awful. They're 0-2. So
now they're about to switch quarterbacks.
Well, they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan down there.
They're about to switch quarterbacks.
I don't know if you guys saw draft night when the trade was made for AJ Brown. Did you see what Vrabel wanted? Vrabel balled his fist up like he wanted to hit his GM in the war room. He kind of smirked at it, but it was like, did you just trade the only explosive weapon we have on offense? Because
on the outside
is explosive when he gets going, but Henry's more of a 3 or 4 yards in a cloud of dust kind of guy. He'll bust you up once he gets going, but we're talking about a dude that can take the top off and stuff like that. That's all we have, and as far as receiving, they had no plan out of that. Their plan was to come in here with all these receivers that no one knows anything about. Ryan Tannehill's awful. The O-line is not the same. They lost Harold Landry, who's one of their best defensive players.
That was week 1.
Now you're starting to see the effect on the big boy in the middle that's playing well. 98 Simmons is starting to take all the heat from that.
That's my guy.
It's just too much. It's too much for them guys. Bud Dupree has been a disappointment. He's not the same from the torn leg. He's not the same anymore. Disappointment, you know?
But you know what? Not only did they lose A.J. Brown last year, they lost Corey Davis the year before. Both of those guys that was 1,000-yard receivers, and then you expect them to make chicken salad from chicken. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that. And then you're putting all this. Derrick Henry is at a point in his career as a running back where he can't take the punishment. You can tell the way that he's running. I have never seen Derrick Henry take as many like really solid hits as he's taken. You see that hit he got hit when he played against the Giants?
Yeah.
Oh, he got
laid out.
When have we ever seen that?
He tattooed.
When have we ever seen Derrick Henry take these type of flush hits? And it's because he's 6'3", 250 pounds, and that was great early on in his career. He's going into year 8 of his career. That right there, remember Earl Campbell?
Guys too much like to hit.
Eric Dickerson, you know, they hit a certain wall because you can't take that type. No human can take that type of punishment.
What's the name wore down? Eddie George with another.
Eddie
Eddie George
George.
eventually.
It's too much. It's just too much.
Just
to
a
hit.
big, big
Too much to
physical,
hit.
big physical
What was
guy
the guy in
like that.
Seattle? What's his name? Chris Warren.
Chris Warren,
You know what I'm saying?
Sean
Christian
Alexander,
Okoye.
same thing.
Sean Alexander,
Christian
Big
Okoye,
Sean.
he didn't let Barry Word. Those guys
Yeah.
could. Larry Johnson only had really 2 good seasons with Kansas City. If you look back,
Too much. It's too much. It's too much to hit, man.
The way that Larry Johnson played, it's the way he played is a bygone era. You see what I'm saying? And now we just don't play football like that anymore. These defenders are getting really big. Okay,
Dave, tell Jody how dominant Larry Johnson's father was in Maryland football.
bruh,
State of Maryland high school football.
for real,
stud,
Oh,
he
yeah.
was dope.
Oh yeah.
stud.
Remember
You
Dunham High
just
School in Waldorf? Yeah, man.
yeah,
The
stud.
Freight area? Yeah, bro. Won
Stud.
3 state championships back to back to back.
Yeah, stud.
Hey, well, guys, man, my Cleveland Browns just came on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna call it here, but this is what I want to talk to y'all about for the next show. I'm gonna check out this game too. I definitely want to talk about what we're gonna see from Sunday. We definitely need to break down this Eagles Commanders game, and we have to analyze it very closely because these two teams could go in different directions. And by this, I mean the Eagles could take off, or they could level off, or the Washington Commanders could take a drop. I want to see what happens here. I don't want to see Washington go to 1-2. I think this might be a must-win for Washington.
We have, I think, down in Dallas, the Dallas New York Giant game on Monday night is going to be a huge game.
Big game, and we'll talk about it.
If the Giants can go 3-0, a thing that I thought was completely garbage. If the Giants can go 3-0, you know, we got to start. Well, me personally, I got to put some respect on Dabo's name as a coach, man, because he took a team that I thought was complete garbage, and he got them at 2-0.
They had a good draft. I thought they had a great draft, and that always changes.
The biggest thing is 26 is healthy and looks happy again.
He looks spry. Yep.
26 looks healthy and happy. That's the biggest. That's the biggest difference in their team this year.
Well, Kevon Thibodeau hasn't even played yet, though. He hasn't even played.
He playing Monday.
They play Monday.
But
what's the score of this Tech game?
It's 3-0.
3-0. Great.
3-0.
I'll be going back and forth on that.
Dable is people got to remember Dable is a disciple of Belichick and all them guys. He comes to so. Joe Judge wasn't the right guy because Joe Judge was a special teams guy. I'm sorry. John Harbaugh is one of the only guys that pulled that off, coming from Philippines to be a head coach and be successful. That doesn't happen often.
Joe Gibbs.
Dable brings an identity on the offensive side of the ball. And what he's going to do, Dimes is not ever going to be great, but he ain't going to let Dimes lose games for them. He's not going to let Dimes do that. He's going to you're not going to cost us games. Our defense, that's a sign of a coach that understands wins are more important than how you look. Yeah, I want to look good offensively. That's what I do. But right now, we ain't built like that, i.e. Brian Billick with the Ravens. I know I'm an offensive guru, but we ain't built like that. Let's just live off the Ray Lewis and this defense, and let's ride them out and get a good running game and mix in some play action passes. And that's what you see Dable doing. So credit him for changing up what he probably wanted to do to what he has to do to win games.
Amen. Hey guys, we're gonna jump off here. Great sentiments here. Devin from POV Sports. Jody Coleman, our guy in the Midwest. I'm your host, David Combs. This was the TD Report. Hey, big got to give a shout out to Mr. Tony down there in Blacksburg, checking out his boys. And I want everyone to enjoy this Thursday game. We're going to see you guys on Monday. Going to lead you into the Monday night game, Dallas and the New York Giants.
Yes, sir.
Should be fun. Hey, man. Hey, good luck on Saturday. Your Friday night, right?
Saturday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon. Good luck in your game, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hit me up after that game, dude. Call me
I will,
after that
definitely.
game. Yeah. Go get him, Potomac.
Y'all be good.
Later. Great show, guys.
Later, bro. Peace, man. Peace.